And we're going to go ahead and start on our backs this evening. So you can find yourself in any form that feels suitable. If you've been having strain anywhere in your body, feel free to experiment with where your legs and arms are positioned and note what might feel best. For example, if you have been typing a lot or hunched over a desk or anything, it might feel nice to have your arms extended up overhead, already hinting at a little bit of that chest opening. And as you settle in, allow yourself to focus on your breath, following the inhale, following the exhale, perhaps noticing if you're holding anywhere in the front side or the back side of your body, and maybe using an exhale to soften just a bit more. Notice the points of contact between your body and the mat. You might just notice your energy level as you showed up to the mat tonight. Maybe even gauging it on a scale can be helpful. 1 being very sluggish, depressed, inert energy. 10 being overstimulated, restless, anxious energy. Somewhere in the middle being that really nice, comfortable zone to be in, grounded yet alert. And that number might be something that we have an option to return to a couple times in practice. So it might be something that you just make a mental note of for now. We're going to begin to move, and we'll start, if your hands are overhead, by bringing the arms down by your sides. Land your feet beneath your knees, heels kind of close to your sit bones, maybe just a few inches away. Your eyes can still be closed here, or perhaps they open. You might lift a little and work your shoulder blades to be a little bit flatter beneath your back. And then evenly weight into all 4 corners of each foot. We're going to inhale, lift up for a bridge form, thinking of drawing your tailbone and pubic bone evenly toward the front edge of your mat, neutralizing your pelvis a little bit in that process. And on the exhale, release down. Let's do 1 more of those. Inhale to lift up. Tailbone and pubic bone draw to the front of the mat. And exhale to release. From here, come up onto the balls of your feet and your toes. Inhale, lift back up. Maybe noticing if this feels a little bit different. Exhale, come back down. Lower your heels, lift your toes. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, bring it down. Heel toe your feet toward one another. Let the bottoms of your feet touch outside edges of your feet, ground into the mat. As you press into the outside edges of your feet, inhale, lift your hips up, finding this diamond form of a bridge. And exhale, release. From here, let your legs come up into the air. You might straighten and bend them a couple times, warming into your hamstrings. The next time your legs are straight or somewhat straight, take a moment to point and flex your feet, maybe circle your feet one direction and the other. And then from here, hands are still down by your sides. We're going to lower the feet, drawing legs toward one another. Lower it just until you feel your core activate a little bit. Maybe you start to feel your low back lift away from the mat and you can ease off. We want to keep the low back even lightly in contact with the mat. And then exhale, draw your legs back up. Inhale to lower any amount, low back in contact with the mat. Exhale to lift back up. So do a couple more of those following your cycle of breath and trying not to rush the transitions. So trying not to use momentum to hurry through any part. Make it nice and fluid. One more full cycle. Inhale and exhale. And on your exhale, extend your legs up. Hands can come to the backs of your legs. We're going to draw chest toward legs just gently here, not forcing, but allowing there to maybe be a little bit more sensation in the back sides of your legs. And then hands can move down behind the knees. You can bend into your legs. We're going to take a few rocks to get up. So you might kick your legs behind you a couple times, rocking up and down your spine. And then eventually that can carry you to a seated form. Go ahead and cross your legs, come to a comfortable seat, hands on your knees. We're going to find some circles of shoulders forward to the side and back, and to the side and forward, side, back, side. One more. Pause when you're forward and reverse, going the other direction. Really let your shoulders get into this, finding some organic movement. Maybe your shoulders find their way up towards your ears every once in a while. Last one. Go ahead and pause in your seat. Inhale, arms can lift up. Exhale, lower your right fingertips, bend that elbow in, reach over with your left arm. Inhale, return through center. Exhale, left fingertips lower, lean that direction, right arm reaches. Inhale through center. And then on your exhale, we're going to twist to the right. Nice, gentle twist here. Maybe looking toward the right. Come back up through center. And exhale, twist to the left. And come back up through center. Find your way over to tabletop. And one thing I'm going to offer is finding a symmetrical transition, which might mean bringing your feet wide and either using your hands or a rock to kind of come through a low squat and a little hop back. So it's not something I've really cued before, but it can be a fun way to make the transition without having to choose which leg goes back first. And once you're there, land your hands. We're going to press into the base of the index finger and into the thumb in particular. And then take a moment, lift just your pinky fingers. It might feel kind of futile, that's okay. And then lift just your rings, just middle, just index, just thumb. Oh, that one's always so much easier. All right, let's reverse. Lift just thumb, just index, just middle, just ring, just pinky. All right, now from here, lift your fingertips and then rock forward, land into your fingertips, lift the base of your palm. Rock back, lift your fingertips, rock forward, lift the base of your palm. Land your hand down as you would normally, and let's take some circles of shoulders over wrists, being very gentle here. Doesn't take much with the lever of the arm for this to feel pretty intense. So let yourself go both directions, easing into this movement in your wrists. And then from here, we're going to bring the backs of the hands to the mat. You can kind of shift back into your knees so there's not so much pressure on your hands. Facing each other here, bring your hands into fists, and then you might straighten your arms any amount. And you can always rock a little more forward or back. You might feel this as a stretch on the back side of your wrist. Gently release out of this. We'll place hands back in a more neutral position. And from here, we're going to inhale, sweep your right arm up. Exhale, thread it under the left armpit. Bring your right side of your head to the mat. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, thread it under. Last one, inhale, lift up. On the exhale, thread under. You can choose if you want your palm to face up or face down. Notice how each feels. Choose one you like. And then from here, left hand can crawl forward. Or if you want to take this into a bit of a balance, your left hand is going to stay out to your left for just a moment. You're going to shift into your left knee and lift your right leg up, keeping that leg bent. Finding the balance between your left leg and your right arm, you might reach your left hand back and catch the far side of that foot, holding it gently so that if you do start to tip, you can release pretty quickly and catch yourself. And then you might add a little kick of that foot into that hand. As you feel ready, if you have the bind, gently begin to release it. We're all going to lift back up, reach your right arm up, kick your right leg out, arch of foot lines up with your left knee. Take a moment maybe to find some organic movement in this lifted arm, whether you keep the arm straight or you bend at the elbow, moving one way and or the other. And then from here, we'll bring your right hand back to the mat and shift the hips back, finding an asymmetrical child's form. Your hands might crawl forward for a little bit more softness in your torso, or your hands can come back to be a support for you. You can always keep a little bend in your right knee if it feels like it's hyperextending or stretching uncomfortably. On an inhale, gently return back through center. Step your right knee into line. Let's do a couple rounds of cat-cow to wash that off. Perhaps to notice the difference between left and right sides at this point. You might feel it in your shoulder or in your hip. One more inhale and exhale. Return through neutral. Inhale, left arm's going to sweep up. Exhale, sweep it under your right armpit. Inhale to lift. Exhale, thread it through. Last one, inhale, lift. On your exhale, thread it through. Potentially crawl your right hand forward. Or if you want to work on that balance, this time it'll be your left arm and your right leg. So we'll lift the left leg up, keeping it bent. Right hand can reach back and catch the far side of that foot, holding it lightly. This might be a place to stay, or you might add a kick of foot into hand. Slowly increasing that pressure so that you can maintain your balance all the while. Whatever you have, we're going to come back through the starting form. Left leg is lowered. Plant your right hand, inhale, left arm open. Kick your left foot out to the side, arch in line with right knee. Find some movement through your left shoulder. Arm can be bent or straight. Go one direction and or the other. And as you feel fairly ready, both hands find the mat. Set your hips back as your hands reach forward, asymmetrical child's form. Moving your hands closer in is totally an option if that feels best. Find a couple breaths here. On an inhale, begin to lift up, coming back toward neutral. Take a couple rounds of cat-cow, rinse that off. Cat-cow is kind of acting as a vinyasa for us in that sense. And then return to a neutral spine. Move your hands forward about a handprint. Curl your toes under. We're gonna do 3 cycles of cat-cow with the option to hover your knees throughout all of it or potentially on the exhales. If you hover, try to keep your knees fairly low to the mat. That'll isolate this movement still in your spine without really recruiting your legs as part of it so much. On your 3rd exhale, press yourself all the way up and back. Find that downward facing form for the first time this practice. Maybe finding some movement, perhaps finding stillness. Making adjustments as you feel is best fit for your body. One more breath here. On your next inhale, right leg can sweep high. On the exhale, we're gonna step right foot forward. Landing it on the mat, lower your left knee, take an inhale. On the exhale, left foot comes forward, find your fold. Inhale, we're gonna halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, rise tall, arms sweep up. Overhead, interlace your fingers except for your index finger. Draw your shoulders up, down, and back. And then on the exhale, lean to your left, hips go right, finding a side bend. Fun fact, this is the original half moon pose. This is actually Ardha Chandrasana. Whereas the single leg balance is Ekapada Ardha Chandrasana, one-legged. In case you want to know some fun yoga history. Inhale, come through center. On your exhale, go to the other side, taking a few breaths here. On your inhale, return through center. Exhale, draw your hands down to your hips. Step your feet about hips distance apart, shoulders back. Tailbone anchors down. From here, as you move your hips forward, imagine your legs externally rotating to press your inner thighs forward as well. Lift your heart any amount, being very gentle here, our first standing back bend. Think of still reaching long through your spine, even as you find the curve here. So that there's not any slumping or sagging into parts of your back. Nothing's having to take on more than any other part. Inhale, return up through center. Arms can reach. Find a length here, maybe even a little wiggle side to side. And then exhale, soften your knees, fold it down. Let your torso hang heavy over your legs. You might catch opposite elbows, or you might let your hands rest palm face up outside of your feet. Again, there can be a great deal of bend in your legs. We're going to meet our first forward fold just briefly. One more inhale. On the exhale, soften into your knees a little bit more. Fingertips on the mat, right foot steps back. Lower that knee. Inhale, sweep your arms up, finding low lunge for just a moment. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back, plank form. We're gonna do a few scapular push-ups here, since we're focusing a little bit on the shoulders tonight. So what I'd like you to think of is pressing the mat away, creating extra space in your shoulders, and then gently softening, not sagging between your shoulders, but just coming back to that more comfortable plank position, and then pressing and softening. So it's only like an inch of vertical movement, but it's working some really important muscles. Try to keep the rest of your body quite still. Last one, press up, hold for 3, 2, 1. Lower your knees, lower chest and chin as elbows hug your ribs. Inhale, pelvis lands, shoulders draw back, find your cobra. Exhale, release back to your belly. From here, let's bring the hands beneath the shoulders, press into the tops of the feet, press into the pubic bone. Lift your belly button away from the mat. Inhale, lift your torso without using your hands. And exhale, release. This time, wait for an exhale. We're going to keep the torso down. On your exhale, lift just your legs. And release. Okay, back and forth. Inhale to lift the torso. Exhale, lower. Inhale, pause. Exhale, lift your legs. Inhale, lower. Sorry, where am I at now? On your next inhale, let's lift the torso and lower. On your next exhale, lift the legs and lower. Wait for your inhale to lift your torso. This time we're gonna hold. And then on your exhale, legs join in as well. Maybe you do some movement through your arms as though reaching forward and then back. Maybe from one side to the other. Inviting some exploration into your arms, perhaps even rotating your palms up and then down. One more breath here, lift a little bit more. And exhale, slow motion melt to the mat. As you release, let your hips wiggle from side to side. Hands come beneath your shoulders. We're going to make our way back to a downward facing dog. All right, kind of a little bit longer warm up, perhaps, than we're used to. So on the inhale, left leg reaches high. Exhale, step it forward. Lower your right knee, lift your chest and chin to take a breath in. Exhale, both feet together at the front of the mat, fold down. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, release. On your inhale, rise all the way up. Interlace fingers, the non-dominant grip except for index fingers. Draw your shoulders down, long line of energy. Exhale, lean to the right, hips go left. Next inhale, come through center. Exhale, lean left, hips go right. Inhale through center. Exhale, let your hands find your hips. Step your feet hips distance apart. We're going to go into our second back bend. You have two options. Option one is to keep your hands at your hips. Option two is to draw your hands up by your sides to where your thumbs are touching your tips of your shoulders. All right. Wherever you are, think of again drawing your tailbone down and kind of externally rotating through your upper thigh bones, lifting your pelvis, your pelvic floor in and up. As you move your hips forward, heart lifts up and back. Keep engaged with your feet. Let this be a full body bend. Picture the entire backside of your body. Notice if there's anywhere that you can recruit a little bit more. Maybe it's your glutes, maybe it's your neck. One more breath here. Inhale, inflate, slowly rise up, reach up. On the exhale, hands to heart center, soft knees, fold it down. This time, peace fingers might catch around the inside edges of the big toes. Inhale, long spine, look forward. On your exhale, we're gonna fold down, focus on making contact between your thighs and your belly, not worrying about how straight your legs are. All right, now from here, as you pull down, your elbows might bend out a bit. You might press into your feet, lift your hips up a little bit. Keep in mind that for most forms, we want to max our effort at about 80%. It's because that last 20% is where injuries tend to happen. And so Especially this early in class anyway, we're just gonna take it a little bit gentler than that. Not to say that you can't ever go into that 20%. There's plenty of time to spend in there, but for now, we're still warming up, maybe hang out at 80 or lower. One more breath. Release the bind if you have it. Fingertips on the mat. Inhale, halfway lift long spine. On your exhale, left foot steps back. Lower that knee, arm sweep up for just a greeting to Anjaneyasana, low lunge. And exhale, release your hands. Step your right foot back. Option to hold still in your plank or to find some of those scapular push-ups. One more cycle of breath wherever you are. From here, we're gonna lower knees, rock back, lower elbows, look forward. Keep your heart low as you slide forward, landing your pelvis in a cobra. And exhale, release. Inhale, lift your low belly from the floor, land your pelvis, find your full locust form. Arms can be wherever you'd like them to be. Exhale, lower. Inhale, locust. Exhale, lower. Last time is a hold. Inhale, locust. Think of lifting your legs a little bit higher. Really feel your glutes kick on and then lift your heart up as your low belly still draws gently in to support your low back. Hold here for 3, 2, 1. Melt into the mat. Wiggle out your hips, maybe even bending your legs and windshield wipering from side to side. And as you feel ready, we're gonna press up to hands and knees. All right, so from here, lower your elbows down. Notice that this creates quite a bit of bend in your legs. Toes can be tucked or not, totally up to you. This bend is gonna keep us from using our back too much though. It's gonna be pretty handy for us. So I'm gonna have you reach your right leg out. And then from here, you're gonna lift your right leg until you feel that glute kick on. Look back, check that your toes point down and lower them gently to the mat. Lift till you feel that glute and lower. Let's do a couple more of these. Isolating this movement into the leg, into the butt. Last one, as you lift, hold it there. Think of rocking just forward enough to lift your elbows up. Maybe they need to readjust so hands are beneath shoulders. Bend your back leg. Shift into your left foot and right hand. Left hand reaches forward. On the exhale, knee toward elbow. Inhale, come back to that bent leg, arm extended. Last one, exhale, knee toward elbow. This time, as you come back to that starting position, your left hand is gonna reach around. It can reach toward the foot, or you can catch the far side of the foot, just like we did in that shape right at the start of class, and then kick foot into hand, any amount. Think of squaring your shoulders, balancing your weight between your left knee and your right hand. Here for one more cycle of breath. Gently release, lowering out of it, releasing with control. Left hand lands, right leg is gonna open up out to the side, fire hydrant style. And knee lowers down toward left knee. Inhale to open, exhale to land. Inhale to open, curl your left toes under, lift your way up to a 3-legged down dog, fire hydrant style. What weirdness. Kick your right leg out to the right and then reach it up toward the wall meeting the ceiling behind you. And then bend that leg, reaching your knee up toward the ceiling. Look toward the front edge of the mat. We're gonna draw that knee forward and step that foot all the way outside of your right hand. Both hands are inside of your right foot. Now lower your left knee. Inhale, lift your heart. On your exhale, we're going to straighten through the right leg. You might have to nudge it forward a bit, stretching into the hamstring, hips rock back. Inhale, bring it forward. Exhale, bring it back. One more, inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale forward. This time, curl your back toes under if they're not, lift that knee, and then lower the heel, setting up for warrior two. Windmill your way up. You might do some shoulder circles here, just noticing what's going on. From here, you have the option to stay upright, working on the focus being the legs. If you'd like to bring a little bit of awareness into your shoulders, you can bring your right hand down to the mat and work on stacking your shoulders here. Or you could work toward the bind, reaching your right arm under, palm face out. Left hand comes back to catch it. And then straighten your arms any amount, gazing up toward the ceiling over your left shoulder. Holding here for just another moment. All right, wherever you are, gently find your way back up to that warrior two. And then from here, we're going to angle both sets of toes out to the corners of the mat and lower into your left leg as much as feels okay. That might mean hips sink way down, or it might mean they stay half lifted. You have the option to have your hands planted on the mat under your shoulders, especially if you're half lifted, that might be where you stay. Or you have the option to crawl your hands wide, bow your torso forward, let your head hang heavy. This is a great place to really tuck your chin and then lift your chin. Tuck and lift. If you deal with any IT band issues, this can kind of floss the nerves in that region. One more breath here. Bring your hands beneath your shoulders. Let's go ahead and lift up just enough to turn to face the back edge of the mat. From here, we're going to take a moment to stretch into that right hip. So you can come up and do a low lunge. Keep it a pretty square base. We're not going into a super low lunge this time where the hips really get low. We're going to stay more square because I'm going to give you a couple options. Option one is going to be to find a twist. It can be an open twist or maybe a tucked elbow prayer twist. Option two, if you want your focus to be on your shoulders, might be to roll to the top of your right kneecap and then bend that leg. And this is a great place to stay right here because all of a sudden it gets real balancy and strange. Maybe you have blocks or a wall to support you. If you're here and you're feeling pretty solid, you might reach back and catch that ankle with one or both hands. If you're here and feeling solid, you might draw your shoulders back, keep your tailbone anchored down, and kick that leg into your hands. It's super funky. Wherever you are, notice your breath. Trust your body to settle, to find stability. Gently begin to release. Landing hands to frame out this left foot. We have a couple options here, okay? So we have an option to come through a side plank and to step your right foot toward the back of the mat. And that would look like left hand plants beneath your nose. Bring your left foot back, find a side plank. Maybe you play a little bit with lifting your right leg, bending it, and then stepping it. Or you have an option to do a hop switch of your feet. So that would be hands planted shoulder distance apart. Your right leg lifts. You press the mat away, the same motion as those scapular push-ups. And then from here, you're gonna spring load the bottom leg and take some hops off of it. And it might take a moment before you feel like you're hopping in the way that feels good in your body. And then from there, you might add the hop switch. Trying to, in slow motion, I always think of my legs reaching toward the ceiling as I do it. And eventually land with your right foot on the mat. From here, left toes lower. Actually, yeah, I want to do something else. Yeah, left toes are lowered, but we're going to bring the torso upright. Hands come to heart center. With your right foot really planted, shift forward and bring your left knee up with you. All right, now some of you have done this with me before. We're going to play with that other Ardha Chandrasana, the more well-known one, by lifting your left knee really high up and out to your left, and then spread your arms. Now from here, your torso is going to begin to tilt. You're going to keep stretching out of your hands, stretching out of your left leg. Trying to find a balance here. The more you're stretched out and the higher that left leg is lifted, the easier it is. And you can always come in and out of it. You can always use a wall or use the floor as well. But the key is to stay really stretched out, really lifted through your left leg. And then you might find, I say as I keep falling, and then you might find a moment of hovering in this Ekapada Ardha Chandrasana. And then wherever you are, we're gonna lower that left foot, land both hands inside of the right foot, and lower your left knee. So we're back to where we were at the start of this set. Rock your hips back, straightening through the right leg, and maybe forward again and back again. That right leg just really worked hard. So I don't want to put us straight into a static stretch. One more rock. And with the leg straightened. All right, now we have some options from here. This is our abducted, meaning away from midline, half split. Option one is maybe you're noticing that there's some unpleasant sensations in your back or your hips. You can come up to kneeling, bring your hands to your hips, and then work on leading with your heart. This activates the core a little bit more, so it's challenging in that way, but it takes a little stress out of perhaps like your back and the hinge at the hips. Option two, hands are lowered. Option three is going to be to keep sliding that right foot forward a little bit. Maybe you find a place where you're like, okay, right here feels still strong, so like I could slide it back if I need to. Left hand might plant. So where it gets funky, I'm going to roll the top of my left kneecap and bend that leg. And then reach back with my right hand and catch that foot. Suppose that looks pretty crazy, but is, you know, you only have to slide that foot out as much as you want, and you don't need to grab the back leg. You can bend it and reach toward it, or bend it and stay facing forward. So there's so many different places to be here. It's all about what feels best in your body. Here for about one more breath. Gently begin to slide your right heel in if you moved it. Curl your left toes under. We're gonna lift that knee, crawl halfway to the left. And from here, bend a little bit side to side. Getting some organic movement and maybe shaking out your head. We are gonna have an arm balance option here because we're going to do a big shoulder opener after it. And sometimes it's easier to open the shoulders once they're activated. So first of all, please know that taking a wide-legged forward fold is a fabulous option here. It might feel so good. In fact, I can already tell that's where I'm going to go after I demo the arm balance. But if you're like, yeah, I kind of want to add an arm balance in here, we're going to play with that flying archer form that we haven't done in a while. So you'll bend halfway into your right leg. Hands are landed beneath your shoulders. You might heel toe your right foot until you can feel that knee on the outside of your right arm. As soon as you feel it, you create a little resistance between your arm and your knee so that they're staying in contact with each other. Now from here, we're going to press into the hands, shift your hips a little to the left. Maybe you can squeeze your right heel toward your sit bones. All right. Now, if you're here, you're like, okay, what next? You might come to balance on your left heel. If you're here and you're still loving it, you might reach your left arm out to the left. Or again, you might find this wide-legged forward fold and relish in any variation here that feels good. Two more breaths to explore wherever you are. On your next inhale, crawl your hands forward, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, return to the front edge of your mat. Plant your hands, step back, lower your knees. We're gonna find our way to a puppy pose. So hands crawl forward, heart melts down, this nice, deep, symmetrical shoulder opener here. Allow yourself to take some breaths here and really settle in. We're not here super long, but if you can even get a single breath where you feel fully softened, that would be fabulous. One more cycle. Let's gently begin to transition. Hands can come back underneath your shoulders. Lower your elbows. Step your left toes back. All right, starting this over on side 2. So lift that left leg, check back, see that the toes are pointed down. Feel your left glute really kick on, and then tap those toes down. Lift and lower. We'll do this for just a moment. Noticing how because we have that bend in our landed knee, well, in the landed leg, that it keeps our back from really extending here, which sometimes happens when we're in our more traditional form. Next time that leg is lifted, keep it lifted. Rock forward so that you're back on your hands. And then from here, we're gonna bend the back leg, reach your right hand forward, exhale, knee toward elbow. Inhale, come back. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, back. Last one, exhale, knee to elbow. This time on your inhale, right arm sweeps back, reaches for the foot or catches the far side of it. And then there might be a kick of foot into hand here. Think of squaring your shoulders. And as you prepare to release, let it be gentle. A slow reversal from where you were. Right hand plants, left knee opens up out to the left, fire hydrant style. Lowers down toward right. Lifts up. Lowers down. Last time, lifts up. Send your hips up and back, downward dog. Kick that left leg out. And then move it so it's like you're kicking at the seam between the wall and the ceiling behind you. And then lower your heel toward your sit bones, opening up that hip. And on your exhale, knee comes in, foot lands outside of your left hand. Lower your right knee. Exhale, rock back, straightening into your left leg any amount. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Last one. Inhale forward, curl your right toes under, lower that foot 90 degrees, windmill up, warrior two. Take a moment here. Find some movement or find some stillness. If you would like to find that side angle, hand might land inside of left foot, right arm reaches up. Working on stacking the shoulders a bit. Might even feel better to have your fingertips on the mat, palm facing away from you to stack your shoulders, because that's what your right hand's doing. Or work on getting the bind, straightening your arms any amount, looking up over your right shoulder. Gently release wherever you are. Come back up through warrior two. Hands can point forward, toes point out. Lower into your right leg, halfway or all the way. Skandasana side two. Hands can be planted beneath your shoulders, especially if your hips are partway lifted. Or perhaps you want to walk your hands wide and bow your head in. This is where you might do that dramatic tuck of your chin and lift. If you're feeling the nerve in your outer left hip when you do this, then it's productive for you. If you're doing that tuck and lift and you're like, what is this? I'm just moving my head. Then it means your body doesn't really need that and you can discard it. One more breath here. As your hands move beneath your shoulders, lift up just enough to turn to the back edge of the mat. And from here, we need to switch which foot is at the back edge. So this time it would either be right hand underneath the nose, roll to the outer edge of your right foot, play with lifting your left foot, stepping it forward, or it would be those handstand hops, really pressing the mat away and thinking of, oh wait, at first taking single hops off the bottom leg, and then finding those switches in the air, thinking of your legs really reaching toward the ceiling. Once your left foot is down, you can bring both hands inside of it. And no, not that. I forgot we added our Ardha Chandrasana. Just find a high lunge. Let your hands return through heart center. Shift weight into your left foot. Intentionally draw your right knee up with you as you come to the back edge. And then we're going to do that funky thing where you lift your right knee in and up and out to the side. Your arms begin to spread. There's this locus of energy at the center of your body. All of this muscle energy that your limbs are reaching from. Maybe you find a hover for a moment. Maybe you use a support. Wherever you are, lower your back leg. Now bring both hands inside of your left foot and lower your right knee. We'll do some rocks front, forward and back, straightening and bending that left leg. Using this oscillation, we allow ourselves to maybe prepare for a moment of stillness. It can be a little bit gentler on the nervous system. The next time that your left leg is straight, we're gonna go ahead and hold. Again, our options are to come upright with the torso, hands at hips, lead with the heart. Hands can be landed on the mat. You might draw your left heel away from you. Maybe land your right hand, come up onto the top of your right kneecap and bend that leg. Left hand might reach back, or it might catch that foot. Just one more breath here. Begin to release. You're gonna lift the right knee, crawl your hands halfway to the right, find some wiggle side to side. Knowing that we again have either that arm balance or something symmetrical. You might choose a symmetrical inversion like a headstand or a forearm stand or a handstand. You might choose a fold. I'm only going to cue the forearm or the arm balance, not because it's the right option to do, but because it's a funky one and it needs a little more cueing. So if you'd like to do it, you'll bend halfway into your left leg, plant your hands beneath your shoulders. Heel toe your right foot so that your knee and your arm are touching, left foot I mean. Create that contact point between them. And then as you press into your hands, move your hips and shoulders a little over to the right and then lift left heel towards sit bone. If you're there and want to add more, lift your right toes off the mat. If you're there and want to add more, lift your right hand toward your right foot. Knowing that you can play with that to any extent that you'd like, or you can ignore it entirely. One more breath here. We'll use the next inhale to ease halfway up, long spine. Walk to the front of the mat with your hands. This time step your left foot forward. Hands reach forward as your hips lower down, finding a seated form. Let's stretch legs out long. Arms reach forward, dig your heels in. We're gonna slowly, vertebra by vertebra, lower down to the mat. And then once here, we're gonna bring legs back up just like we started. This time, however, we're gonna cross right ankle over left knee, finding a reclined pigeon, but your arms are out to a T. So it's really just the strength of your legs that are making this pigeon create any sort of sensation in your body. Maybe left knee draws in, right knee presses away, both feet are flexed. It might feel quite soothing to rock a little bit side to side on your low back here. Or even to tip all the way over to the left. Your legs remaining as a single unit and landing in this twisted, not twisted, this figure 4 supine twist. I always like to wiggle my head side to side here, but you might find it nice to either keep a neutral spine or to look over to your right hand. Let's gently return up through center. Uncross your legs, give them a shake. We'll go to the second side, left ankle toward right knee. Use the muscles of your legs to create some sensation. Perhaps you rock a little on your low back. Maybe it feels nice to lower your legs as a unit to the right, landing in this figure 4 supine twist. From here, maybe rocking your head side to side or gazing over to the left. Gently return up through center, reach your legs up, give them a shake. And then notice for yourself what would feel pleasant. Perhaps that means finding a wall or a prop, allowing yourself to reach your legs up onto that thing. Perhaps that means finding a back bend. We didn't do any internal rotation. We didn't do very much adduction going toward midline. So, maybe like crossing your legs in a form sounds nice. Doing windshield wiper legs, letting your knees fall in and get some internal rotation at your hips. Wherever you land, there's an invitation to return to that number that you selected for yourself at the start of this practice. And you might notice if that number remains true, knowing that there's no expectation for any certain outcome here. Everything that we're observing is simply feedback, information for how we can best approach ourselves. Last moment of stillness, you might scan through, noticing if there's any way to release anything else. Any tension from your eyes, your jaw, even your tongue. Getting down through the rest of your body, doing the same. Feel prepared to begin exiting this moment. You might use deeper breaths to wake yourself up. Introduce little wiggles or movements. We'll eventually make our way to a seated form. So you might notice if you'd like to roll to the side, if you'd like to take a rock along your spine, or really how you would prefer to get there. On an inhale, arms can sweep up, palms touching overhead. Exhaling, thumbs can pause at the forehead, acknowledging this physical body. Pause at the mouth, acknowledging the breath and the life that it brings into this body. And they can come to rest at heart center, acknowledging that intelligent being that our body and breath have purpose because of. Whether you believe it is a divinity or an energy or a shared unconscious, whatever it is that exists within you and within me, I see it and I honor it. Namaste.